Welcome back to my channel, you guys. So today I'm going to be doing a quick glam routine for you guys during this quarantine, and we're just going to go ahead and jump straight in. So the first product I'm using is the L'Oreal Infallible Matte Lock Primer, and I put that all over my face. Then I went into my Oma Beauty foundation in the shade Brown Sugar T4N, and guys, this foundation is definitely not my shade anymore. Again, this quarantine is taking away all of my melanin, so my foundations are giving me like a struggle right now, but we are able to work with it. Even though it is darker than I want it to be, I can fix it with the other products that we'll be using throughout the video. So don't worry, I know it looks a little crazy right now, but trust me, I'll fix it throughout the video and it'll look much better. So next we're going to go into our Oma Beauty Woke Concealer in the shade Brown Sugar T3, and that's going to be the first concealer that we use. And I just put that in my areas where I typically highlight. Even though this isn't really a highlight shade, it did help balance out the darkness of the foundations. And then I went into the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in the shade Butterscotch to help brighten it up even more, because that is a super light shade. Even when I am darker, that concealer shade is still pretty light, so that helped to even out the darkness of this foundation. And in applying my concealer, I am bringing it up to my eyelids because I'm going to use that as a primer for my eyeshadow. And you'll also see me switching between my foundation brush and my concealer brush just to make sure that everything is blended out smoothly and there's no harsh lines in between the concealer and the foundation. So next we're going to go into Morphe's Bronzer in the shade Showmance. I decided to powder contour instead of cream contour because if I added the dark shade that I have, it would have just made this foundation even more dark than it already is, and we don't want to darken up this foundation anymore. We want it to lighten up a bit, so I just went with the powder bronzing instead of cream bronzing or cream contouring. And I also used that same bronzer on my nose, and I took it kind of close to my inner corner of my eyelid to help everything look seamless. And of course you switch between the two brushes to make sure that everything is blended evenly. So you switch between your foundation brush and your contour brush. Then I went in with the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless powder in the shade 332 Golden to set all my highlighted areas in place. I've really been loving the finish that this powder gives me versus the actual setting powder. It's like a smooth matte canvas, and that's what I like my foundation to look like because I do have oily skin. Then I went in with the Rimmel London Stay Matte pressed powder in the shade Pecan 031, and I just set my entire face with this to make sure that everything is blended and nice and neat looking, and that the foundation shades that I put down can also be matte. Then I go into my same old Maxi blush by Rimmel London in the shade Rendezvous to add a little color to my cheeks. And then for highlight, I typically don't highlight. I haven't been doing so lately, but I did today. And I use Morphe's highlighting palette. I don't know which color I use. I just dipped into like a couple of them. But then I didn't want it to be so harsh, so I went over it with my foundation brush. And now we're going to set our face with the Morphe Matte Continuous Mist Setting Spray, and then just fan that dry and move on to our eyebrows. It's the same old thing with the eyebrows. I don't do anything different to those same products, except for this time I didn't use the e.l.f. primer because I put foundation over them, so they should stick pretty well. And yeah, just go in and fill them in the typical way that I do, or the typical way that you do, whichever one you like best. Now I'm going to add some setting powder to my under eye area because we're going to go ahead and start doing our eyeshadow. And I'm using the Zulu palette first from Juvia's Place, and I showed you which colors I use first, second, and third. Literally, that's the only 3 shades that I use from this palette. And I'm starting with the fluffy, shiny brush to put down that brown shade first, and that's going to act as our transition shade. And then I'm going to go into the Morphe M506 brush and start putting down that purple shade. And then I'm going to switch to an e.l.f. brush that's a bit denser. I don't know what this brush is called, but I'm just going to also dip into that purple shade to pack on a little bit more color, and then blend it out again with the Morphe M506 brush. Then I'm going to use that same e.l.f. brush again and dip into that pink shade and put it right above the purple, and then blend it out again with my Morphe M506 brush. And you just want to take your time and blend until you get it to your liking, because that's how, you know, you make sure that your eyeshadows are blending smoothly and there's no separation lines between any of the shades that you're putting down. So next I'm gonna cut my crease with the Too Faced Born This Way multi-use sculpting concealer in the shade Butterscotch, and I just, did the typical cut crease. Here you want to take your time and really carve out your crease. I'm just doing like tapping motions so that I'm not swiping the concealer all over my lid, because that doesn't give you a precise look, and you want to go in and really take your time and carve out your crease. And I'm using a e.l.f. crease brush, I'm using a deluxe crease brush from Real Techniques to blend out that concealer. Then I'm gonna go back into that e.l.f. brush that we used to put down the purple shade before, the dense brush, and I'm just gonna add some more of that purple shade from the Zulu palette on the outer corner of the concealer, and then I'm gonna blend that out with the Morphe M506 brush, just to make sure that there's no harsh edge between the concealer and the purple shade, and everything is blended. And the key here is to blend, 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 blend. Then I'm gonna go into the Morphe 35M Boss Mood palette, and again, I showed you which shadows I use first, second, and third, and you're gonna start with the darkest shade first, which is the shade that has the number 1 on it, then switch to the second shade, then switch to the third shade for your inner corner, and make sure that every single one of these shades is blended into each other so that there's no lines of separation between those shades on your eyelid. And I'm using patting motions to apply these shades and not swiping it onto my lid, because when you press it down, it gives you more pigment. And so I use the same 3 shades from the Zulu palette on my bottom lash line as well, in the same order. Next, I went in with the LA Girl Glide Gel Liner in the shade Black. And then I went in with the e.l.f. Liquid Liner in Black is Black, and the Too Faced Better Than Sex Mascara, and my Beauty Supply Store lashes by Ms. Lash in the style 06. Next, I'm going to take some of the Mario Badescu Rose Water Face Spray and spray that onto my brush, and then pat off that setting powder that we put down under our eye to keep any fallout from happening from our eyeshadow shades. And you just want to make sure that you're pressing that powder in so it doesn't look cakey and powdery under your eye. I'm going to line my lips with the NYX lip liner in the shade Espresso, and then I'm going to go in with some Beauty Supply Store lipstick. The first one is by Ruby Kisses, and it's the matte lipstick in the shade Cinnamon Roll. And then the second one is also by Ruby Kisses, matte lipstick in the shade Dulce, and I just went on top of the Cinnamon Roll with Dulce. And then I'm going to add NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Ginger Snap. And that completes the look, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the way that it turned out. I know it was looking a little crazy in the beginning, but I think I saved it. I know this shade is not my perfect match whatsoever, but I do think I did a good job of saving it, hopefully. If you like it, you can let me know in the comments. If you have any suggestions on how to, make my shade match me a little better, because I really am not throwing away all these foundation shades that I have just because I'm going through quarantine right now, because I'm pretty sure my skin is going to darken back up. But yeah, if you have any suggestions for me, you can leave them in the comment box below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and give this video a big thumbs up. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.